तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि देवकी तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि दर्शन दे जो गवा दर्शन दे दो यादवा 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 देवकी तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि देवकी तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि दर्शन दे दो माधवा दर्शन दे दो माधवा दर्शन दे दो दर्शन दे दो माधवा दर्शन दे दो माधवा दर्शन दे दो माधवा देवकी तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि देवकी तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि दर्शन दे दो केशवा 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 देवकी तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि देवकी तनया दया निधि दया निधि शुभानिधि श्रीलक्ष्मी मां पाहि देवी लक्ष्मी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरी मां पाहि देवी लक्ष्मी मां पाहि दीनलक्ष्मी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरी मां पाहि क्षीराब्धितनये मां पाहि क्षीराब्धितनये पाहि सर्वमङ्गले मां पाहि सर्वमङ्गले मां पाहि क्षीराब्धितनये मां पाहि क्षीराब्धितनये मां पाहि सर्वमङ्गले मां पाहि सर्वमङ्गले मां पाहि देवी लक्ष्मी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरि मां पाहि देवी लक्ष्मी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरि मां पाहि क्षीराब्धितनये मां पाहि क्षीराब्धितनये मां पाहि सर्वमङ्गले मां पाहि सर्वमङ्गले मां पाहि देवी लक्ष्मी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरि मां पाहि देवी लक्ष्मी मां पाहि दीनदयाकरि मां पाहि दीनदयाकरि मां पाहि दीनदयाकरि मां पाहि ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಲಿ ಕರಳಿ ರಾಮನಾಮ ಸದಾ ಎನ್ನ ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಲಿ ಕರಳಿ ರಾಮನಾಮ ಸದಾ ಎನ್ನ ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಲಿ ಕರಳಿ ರಾಮನಾಮ ಭರಳಿ ರಾಮ ನಾಮ ಸದಾ ಭರಳಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನಾಮ ಭರಳಿ ರಾಮ ನಾಮ ಸದಾ ಭರಳಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನಾಮ ಸತತ ನಿನ್ನ ಚರಣ ಸೇವೆ ನೀಗುಯನಗೆ ರಾಮ ಸದಾ ಎನ್ನ ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಲಿ ಭರಳಿ ರಾಮನ ಸದಾ ಎನ್ನ ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಲಿ ಭರಳಿ ರಾಮನ ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮ ನೆನವುದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀಡು ಎನಗೆ ಸುಮನವ ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮ ನೆನವುದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀಡು ಎನಗೆ ಸುಮನವ ನಾನಿನ್ನ ನಂಬಿದೆನು ಶ್ರೀರಾಮಚಂದ್ರಧಾಮ ಸದಾ ಎನ್ನ ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಲಿ ಭರಳಿ ರಾಮನಾಮ ಸದಾ ಎನ್ನ ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಲಿ ಭರಳಿ ರಾಮನಾಮ ರಾಮನಾಮ ಭರಳಿ ರಾಮನಾಮ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै शांति शांति शांति। We will have invocation prayer. ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। शांति शांति शांति। Together we will chant Mundakopanishad, section 2, chapter 1, verses 1 to 13, please. तदेतत् सत्यं मन्त्रेषु कर्माणि कवयो यान्यपश्यंस्तानि त्रेतायां बहुधा सन्ततानि तान्याचरतः नियतं नित्यकामाः एषवः पन्थाः सुकृतस्य लोके यदा लेलायते ह्यर्चिः समिद्धे हव्यवाहने तदाज्यभागावन्तरेणाहुतिः प्रतिपादयेत् श्रद्धयाहुतम् यस्याग्निहोत्रमदर्शमपौर्णमासमनाहुतमावदिनमघितिवज्जितं च अहुतमवैश्वदेवमविदिनाहुतमां सप्तमांस्तस्य लोकान् हिनस्ति काली कराळी च मनोजवाच सुलोहितायां च सुधूम्रवर्णा स्फुलिङ्गिनी विश्वरुची च देवी लीलायमाना इति सप्तजिह्वाः एतेषु यश्चरते भ्राजमानेषु यथा कालं चाहुतयो ह्याददायन् तं नयन्त्येताः सूर्यस्य रश्मयो यत्र देवानां पतिरेकोऽधिवासः ये ह्येहीति तमाहुतयः सुवर्चसः सूर्यस्य रश्मिभिर्यजमानं वहन्ति प्रियां वाचमभिवदन्त्योर्चयन्त्यः एषवः पुण्यः सुकृतो ब्रह्मलोकः प्लवाह्येते अधृढा यज्ञरूपाः अष्टादशोक्तमवरं येषु कर्म एतच्छ्रेयो येऽभिनन्दन्ति मूढाः जरामृत्युं ते पुनरेवापि यन्ति अविद्यायामन्तरे वर्तमानाः स्वयं धीराः पंडितं मन्यमानाः जङ्घन्यमानाः पर्यन्ति मूढाः अन्धेनैव नीयमाना यतान्धाः अविद्यायां बहुधा वर्तमाना वयं कृतार्था इत्यभिनन्दन्ति बालाः यत्कर्मणो न प्रवेदयन्ति रागात् तेनातुराः क्षीणलोकाश्च वन्ते इष्टापूर्तं मन्यमाना वरिष्ठम् नान्यच्छ्रेयो वेदयन्ते प्रमूढाः नाकस्य पृष्ठे सुकृतेन भूत्वे इमं लोकं हीनतरं भाविषन्ति तपश्रद्धेये ह्युपवसन्त्यरण्ये शान्ताः विद्वांसो भैक्ष्यचर्यां चरन्तः सूर्यद्वारेण ते विरजाः प्रयान्ति यत्रामृतः स पुरुषो ह्यव्ययात्मा परीक्ष्य लोकान् कर्मचितान् ब्राह्मणो निर्वेदमायान्नास्य कृतः कृतेन तद्विज्ञानार्थं स गुरुमेवाभिगच्छेत् समित्पाणिश्रोत्रियं ब्रह्मनिष्ठम् तस्मै स विद्वानुपसन्नाय सम्यक् प्रशान्तचित्ताय शमान्विताय येनाक्षरं पुरुषं वेद सत्यं प्रोवाचन्तां तत्त्वतो ब्रह्म विद्याम्. The previous class we have been studying the Mundakopanishad section 2, the chapter 1, mantras 8 we have concluded in the previous class. So we will have that mantra 8 quick recap, what we exactly left, so that we can have the thought flow. So the mantra 8 mantra chanting: अविद्यायामन्तरे वर्तमानाः स्वयं धीराः पंडितं मन्यमानाः जङ्घन्यमानाः पर्यन्ति मूढाः अन्धेनैव नीयमाना यतान्धाः. Translation: steeped in ignorance, believing themselves to be wise and learned, fools stray away, suffering again and again, indeed as the blind led by the blind. So he is talking about the people who are drifted away from the mission of discovery of the Supreme Self. Upanishad is highly advising, highly highlighting the weakness of human beings, steeped in ignorance. This mantra is well known and oft quoted. The same appears in the Kathopanishad and Upanishad also. So it denounces the rituals and the ritualistic people who are caught up mechanical rituals without understanding the purpose. The mantra considers them as fools, mudaha, fools. Though steeped in ignorance, they have no clue what they are doing, they have no knowledge, ignorance prevails them. They believe themselves to be wise, they believe that they know and learned. A fundamental human weakness which Josh Billings highlights in his brilliant observation. We studied the trouble with vast majority of people, most folks, is not so much their ignorance, they knowing so many things which ain't so, as their knowing So they believe they know. Being ignorant, they don't recognize their ignorance and they declare they know everything. Following a result-oriented practices, ritualistic practices which are result-oriented, stained with desires, desire-ridden activities. People go to churches, mosques, and temples, or whatever the ritualistic practices they execute in their day-to-day life. They have a result orientation stained by desires and ego and selfish desires, motives. Those rituals does not aspire for spiritual enlightenment. They don't want to reach anything higher state of evolution. Any spiritual growth is hardly expected by them because they're stuck to their desire ridden activity, mechanically executing their acharas, the ritualistic practices. These desires drive them around trying to find fulfillment in the world. They just have worldly desires and trying to fulfill those desires, ignorant of the bliss of the Supreme Self within. So, you steeped in ignorance of the Supreme Self, the Atman, the God within themselves. They are ignorant of that great Supreme Self within and they're caught up in the external world of result-orienting ritualistic practices with their desire-ridden activity mechanically. They stray away from the self, pursuing peace and happiness, trying to get from the external world which doesn't have. His desires therefore multiply. Since you constantly executing desire-ridden activity in the ritualistic pattern of living, the desires keep multiplying, growing more and more. Therefore, you are mentally agitated and suffer. You suffer from mental agitations because of too many desires increasing, but there is no fulfillment of desires. So, agitations, any mental agitation, any disturbance is propelled, is caused by unfulfilled desires. When your desires are fulfilled, you are happy. When your desires are unfulfilled, you are unhappy. Therefore, the very concept of result-oriented, desire-ridden activity leads to suffering and sorrow because you are always be left with unfulfilled desires. Even though you fulfill desires, the desire increases and multiplies and brings back to the unfulfillment all the time. A vacuum, a void, an incompleteness, and unfulfillment are imperfect and always prevails. A lacuna, a void always increases because of increase of desires. So the ritualistic pattern of living goes down a blind alley, means you are going down in a blind road, as it were. Alley means road. You are taking a path which is, there is no growth, there is no peace, there is no concrete development in your personality. You just blindly going into the down the drain. Notwithstanding the suffering and sorrow, he still believes. A person who is a ritualistic pattern of life, caught up with suffering and sorrow, with agitated desires, he still believes himself to be wise and learned. You can find lot of them today's world. They believe they know everything, being ignorant of the Supreme Self within, and they have no clue that they have to get to the self at any cost, at the bayonet's point, to extricate themselves and get satisfaction or fulfillment in life, which they have no idea. Steeped in ignorance, they believe themselves to be wise and learned because they got intelligence in the form of external achievements of educational academic qualifications. Hence, the guru dismisses the ritualistic practices and ritualists as fools who have no clarity and steeped in ignorance. This is the vast majority of people, if not all, caught up in this practices, not knowing the meaning and purpose of their existence. You are supposed to only find out your real self in this lifetime. There is no other mission or purpose for your existence here. You got to find out who you are. That is the area of ignorance he is talking about. Steeped in ignorance. Today, if you question any human being, who is here, what he has come from, where from he has come, where is he going, and how is he going, there is no idea at all. Is completely soaked, engulfed by this ignorance in the spiritual aspect of themselves. And if you ask, how are you? You say you are fine, well settled. In ignorance you are settled, and you are not able to get out of that ignorance because you believe you are wise and learned. And he is here, the steeped in ignorance, believing themselves to be wise and learned fools, stray away, suffering again and again, repeatedly suffering again and again, and you are not able to recognize the suffering and not able to get out of this. Following the blind, led by the blind, is the herd instinct. You go to the herd instinct, a sheep following sheep pattern of life. Mantra, the Upanishadic masters regarded them as ritualistic fools who are squandering this vital human birth in frivolities of the worldly ritualistic practices and not enjoying the peace and bliss of the self discovery and enlightenment. Now we get on to the mantra 8, mantra 9, mantra 8 concluded. Now we will start with the mantra 9. Avidyayam bahudha vartamanaha vayam krutartha ityabhimanyanti balaha yat karmino na pravedayanti ragat tenaturah kshinalokaschavante. We will repeat the mantra chanting again. Avidyayam bahudha vartamanaha vayam krutartha ityabhimanyanti balaha yat karmino na pravedayanti ragat tenaturah kshinalokaschavante. So he is continuing with the same thought flow about the human weakness, about the soaked in, immersed in ignorance, remaining diversely in ignorance. Ignorance is not one-sided, it is a diversified ignorance. Every aspect of yours is soaked in ignorance, diversely remaining in ignorance. The childish believe, the childish balaha, childish believe we have gained the purpose of life. We achieved a lot in the world just because you got some achievements, successes in the world. You could be a sports professional, you got a lot of awards and rewards from the sports field or any kind of educational field or managing field or medicinal field or agricultural field. You got a lot of successes and achievements and awards and rewards, powers and positions, no doubt. But it's a childishness to believe that you have fulfilled your purpose in life. As a human life, what did you achieve is the question he is asking. They believe, the ignorant people, the innocent people, the people who have no clue about their origin, their source, where did they come from, that is not understood. Such people, they brag about what they are bragging. We have gained the purpose of life. They declare, since those who are attached to action lack proper understanding, thereby become afflicted with sorrow, and having descended after exhausting their heavenly sojourn. So he is talking about the people who are steeped in ignorance, childishness, childish behavior, being caught up in the external achievements, and that is the be all and end all of life. They think that they have fulfilled their purpose of human birth. That is the childishness. We have gained the purpose of life, since those who are attached to action. So those who are completely worldly, they are attached to action, lack proper understanding, because action cannot take you to the self. Self you can reach only through eradication of knowledge, ignorance through knowledge of higher understanding, knowledge of supreme self alone will take you to the self realization. Any amount of activity will not take you to the self. It will at most help you to purify the mind, if provided if you perfectly execute those actions detachedly. Here is the person in ignorance and attached to actions, duties and responsibilities, favor of doing duty, because you are terribly attached to activities, obligatory duties, action, lack of proper understanding, thereby afflicted with suffering and sorrow. Today, attachment is deadly, everybody is suffering from. Your mind contacts any object or being, you get agitated and suffering. Attachment gives you sorrow and misery. Objects like cell phone, constantly on the cell phone. The moment cell phone is ringing, or cell phone is lost, or cell phone is not contacted, your mind is agitated. The question is how much you are attached, that much proportionate your mind suffers the sorrow. Attached to action, here is talking about lack proper understanding, thereby afflicted, victimized with sorrow, having descended after exhausting their heavenly sojourn. So the Guru further denounces in this mantra the ignoramuses. Ignoramuses means the end block of humanity, who have not taken up this higher self-discovery, self-realization path. They are all come under ignoramuses. First, you should have an awareness that you do not know the Supreme Self. Second thing is, you should fix the goal in life, that this life is dedicated to the achievement of the Supreme Self alone, along with the whatever I am doing in the world. That should be your first fixation of the goal of life. If you do not aware of this, if you do not fix your purpose, you come under the category of ignoramuses. The ignoramuses, the Guru denouncing in this mantra as indulging in ritualistic practices, daily routine mechanical practices without leading anywhere, just blindly going doing what they nothing to do with the anything higher purpose. He addresses them as balaha, children. Children are caught up with the toy world. Similarly, these human beings today and block, all of them caught up in the toys of the adult nature. What are the adult toys? Everybody is chasing, running after, playing about like a childish people, are name, fame, power, position, status, money, and family. These are the toys that makes your joys of every human being today. Anything happens to the job or money or name or fame, you buckle, collapse, you suffer, you agitated, because you are dependent, you are attached, you are slave to them. Therefore, here the Guru denounces such people. What a dignity of a human being, and where are you fallen? It like he refers to them as a bala. Bala means grown-up children, grown-up children. Children, because they are child only, caught up in ignorance, toy world. Any child, if you give him anything bigger real object, he will only ask how many toys I will buy with this bigger object. So child cannot conceive, cannot understand anything higher. It is just attached to the toy world. Similarly, the human beings today is caught up in this external world of objects and beings, and the enjoyments and success and of this world. So the practitioners, most religious practitioners, most of them are steeped in ignorance, soaked in ignorance, and at different levels they are attached, at different ways they are attached. Somebody is caught up in the duties and responsibilities, somebody is caught up with the money, somebody is caught up with the name and fame, somebody is caught up with the family, somebody is caught up with the various honor and dishonor, various levels human beings are caught up because of lack of any higher purpose or goal or supreme self to discover. That's what he's highlighting. So the practitioner steeped in ignorance at different levels, rare is the wise person. Very rare is the wise person who learned, who pursues the ultimate reality, ultimate truth, the supreme self, the Atman. The goal of self-realization is very rare. So who, as a human dignity and prestige, he follows that higher self, not swayed by these worldly achievements and not get attached. The world is like a bridge. The name, fame, power, position, status, money, family is just like meeting people on the bridge. You got to cross this bridge from one end to the another end. The one end is the world, other end is the reality, the supreme self, the Atman. You got to be using this bridge as a transportation, as a path to reach the goal of self-realization. This is the wise person's stance, wise person's fixation. Rare is the wise who learned, who pursues the ultimate goal of self-realization. So the Guru further denounces the ignorant people indulging in the ritualistic practices without knowing the purpose. He addresses them as a balaha, children. Most religious practitioners are steeped in ignorance, soaked in ignorance, and not aware of the ultimate purpose, what the practices stand for. You break the coconut in the temple. How many of the people who understands the purpose of the breaking of the coconut? It's nothing wrong in breaking the coconut, going to temple and offering your prayer, but any understanding backing that breaking of the coconut. So the purpose of coconut breaking is a great symbolism, a great knowledge embedded in that ritual. What is that? You see that coconut. The coconut is a big original one, is a green cover. The top green cover is the coconut, symbolizes the human personality. That coconut, when you remove the green cover, there is a coir. The coir, the physical body is the green top. You observe any human being outside, there is a skin covering the body and everybody looks very nice. But the moment you enter into the mind of any human being, it is a chaos. It is intertwined with a lot of attachments and desires, worries and anxieties, emotions and thoughts, all sorts of impulses, feelings, likes and dislikes. These are all in the mind. Those represented by the coir, the various coir pieces inside that green top, where they are stemming from, they are all coir. If you go to the coir and deeply go inside the coir, then you hit the hard shell. The coir emerges from the hard shell. The shell represents the human personality inside the ignorance of the Supreme Self. The ignorance of the Supreme God within is the hard shell. So the coir comes out of the hard shell. Similarly, the desires, the attachments, the likes and dislikes, the feelings, emotions all emerge from the supreme ignorance of Supreme Self. Because of the ignorance of the Supreme Self, you got into these desires. This is the problem which is compared to the symbolism of the coconut breaking in the temple. Then what is that Guru does when you offer the coconut? He removes the coir, he removes the green top, he removes everything, he leaves the bottom a tuft. The tuft represents when a human being goes to the master for his spiritual development to reach the Supreme God, the Atman. He educates with the self-knowledge. Thereby, all the desires for the world he drops, and only left out the tuft means few desires for serving the master, gaining the desire for gaining the knowledge and doing service to the Guru. All these good and noble desires, a few of them taking care of his obligatory duties and responsibility in the presence of the master Guru, that is the tuft. With the practice of spiritual sadhana, when you go to the temple, the priest breaks the coconut and removes the tuft, and there are three holes, three dots behind that coconut below. The three dots represents the two fleshy eyes you have, and the third one is the eye of wisdom, jnana chakshu, which is the intellect. So Guru opens up with the knowledge of the self, the third eye, which is the eye of wisdom, whereby you get that self-development to self-realization with which you meditate and reach the self. That is the temple when the priest breaks the coconut and then he offers to the Lord, and you have the darshan of the Lord inside the temple, sanctum sanctorum, and there is a prayer is chanted so that you had the symbolism of that you merge with the Supreme God, the Atman, the self-realization. This is the connectivity with the coconut ritual to the human development to self-realization. This is the purpose. What is the Guru denouncing? People are mechanically performing the rituals, not being aware of the meaning and purpose of these rituals. They are considered as fools, balaha, children. He addresses them as children. Most religious practices are, you go to the church with candle. You light it in front of the, inside the church also have the same symbolism. The candle represents the human being. The wick holds the candle. Wick is the ego, and wax represents the egocentric desires. When you take this candle inside the church and you light the candle, means you take the knowledge of the self. When you go to the Guru with ego and egocentric desires, the Guru gives the knowledge of the Supreme, knowledge of the self within. Thereby the ignorance, which is the cause for this ego and egocentric desires, is burnt away and eradicated by the knowledge of the self, which is the candle lighting in the church. The moment candle is lit, the wick is getting burnt and wax getting melted away, which is the desires of the world getting dropped, and desire for the enlightenment, desire for the Supreme Self is increased, with which ultimately you merge with the entire wax is melted away and wick is melted away. You become one with God. You become God. That is the Supreme Self. You become infinity. You drop your ego and egocentric desires. You lose your individuality completely so that you merge with the totality. You instantly gain the infinite. That is enlightened state of fourth plane of consciousness, which is God consciousness, the mission of human birth. So every little ritual a human being performs in any religious practices have connection with the self-development to self-realization, only the mission and purpose. You pray any god or goddess, the same purpose has been defined and given. The symbolism of the growth of individual towards the enlightenment is underlying theorems have been provided by gurus. Therefore, guru is denouncing those people who are religious practitioners who are steeped in ignorance at different levels. Rare person is those who are wise and learned, who pursues the supreme self, the ultimate goal of realization, and they never compromise with the worldly achievements and worldly benefits, is the guru advice. The shastras, the scriptures, the Vedantic literature is considers the spiritual ignoramuses, the spiritual ignoramuses as children, because their children has time to grow, they are yet to grow. Similarly, these people who are all en bloc of humanity, who are caught up in the world, they are like children. They are not aware that the meaning and purpose of human being who is existing in this world. The purpose of human being is to reach the ultimate truth and reality in this very lifetime. The efforts should be channelized to reach the enlightenment. Instead of that, these people are ignorant of the mission of life, purpose of life, and take up the knowledge of the practices and reach the enlightenment. Instead of that, they're caught up in the external embellishments, worldly attractions and attachments, and they're called in this mantra by the scripture itself, not only by the guru. The scripture also considers the spiritual ignoramuses as children. Balaha, they are children, like the children will grow one day. That is the guru. So guru never gets agitated that their children are wasting their life and their time. He waits patiently. When they grow up by suffering and suffering, they question, they reach, one day they reach the enlightenment. Is the confidence of the gurus. That's why in this he refers to them who are ignoramuses as a children. This proclaims this stance of the scripture, this idea of the guru proclaims that spiritual stature of the masters. The masters who are enlightened souls, they are not desperate to teach anybody. The persons who are grown up, matured enough, realized, understood the futility of the worldly pursuits, they anyway grow out of this childish behavior of getting caught up in the name, fame, power, position, money, and family. One day they will leave you. Those people who realize and come anyway to the ultimate goal of self-realization. Therefore, this idea of guru's stature, of referring to the people who are caught up in the world as considering them as a children, gives the profundity and greatness and grandeur of the great enlightened masters, stature of enlightened knowledge and enlightened state. So the master's caliber and level has been proclaimed by this understanding that they're considering all of us as balaha, children. So the proclaim of the spiritual stature of the master as an adult understands the childishness in the child. Every adult understands the childishness of a child. And believes, every adult knows, if you have children, he clearly knows one day he will grow soon out of it. Similarly, the enlightened masters watches this whole humanity who are caught up in the external world. They also wait patiently and watch this. One day they take this stance. One day they will grow out of this thraldom, the bondage of the world. So does the master look at the ritualistic practices, people who are ritualistic practitioners with understanding, with, with knowledge, with the confidence that he too will eventually evolve by realization. One day, why am I doing? What am I doing? The question will arise one day, and Guru waits for that idea of questioning nature in the ritualistic people, and then he will guide them to enlightenment. So the unwitting practitioner, unwitting means people who are ignorant practitioners of rituals, attached to activities of rituals, since his meritorious action, no doubt they are acting. Every action there is a result. So since they are ignorantly also performing the desire ridden activity, they accrue, they collect certain meritorious deposits, meritorious deeds, they collect some punya merits of the desire ridden activities, which earns them heavenly pleasures, heavenly sojourn, heavenly time in heaven. They spend time in heaven, sojourn of pleasure, super sensuous joys, and but for a brief period, until that what their punya merit is exhausted. After exhausting that punya, the merit, they get back to this mundane world of birth and death as repeatedly until they hit the enlightened state by gaining the knowledge of the self. So, however, after exhausting the merit accrued from the actions, he returns to the suffering and sorrow of this mundane world of birth and death and birth and death. This will be repeated. Therefore, any amount of good actions, result oriented actions, will not give you freedom from this bondage of the world of birth and death. The real peace, real happiness, real growth you can achieve only by eradication of your ignorance, by gaining of the knowledge of the self, by fixing the ultimate goal of self realization. Nothing short of it will take you to the freedom, real freedom. You may at most, as a ritualistic practitioner in ignorance, if you are attached to rituals, you definitely, because of your positive religious activities in the ritualistic practices, you definitely accrue, collect certain merits. With those merits, you definitely transported to the temporary sojourn in heavenly pleasures and joys. Having spent there and exhausted your whatever actions provided you your deposits, merits, you return back to the mundane world of birth and death and suffering and sorrow. There is no redemption, there is no real enlightenment for those who are desired in activities steeped in ignorance. So, whatever amount of activities you perform, there is no real growth. The only growth you can expect is the wise people, the rare people who understands the limitation of these ritualistic practices and understand the ultimate goal of self-realization, and they work towards that by eradicating the ignorance. Thereby they perform the activities selflessly only for the achievement of the enlightenment. Such people reach the supreme God, the Atman, is the advice given in the mantra 9. Now we get on to the mantra 10. So this entire mantras talk about the human weakness and tendency of the rituals without reaching the supreme self, the Atman. Even the Upanishad also declaring the same thing. They don't condemn the rituals, but they don't reject the rituals, but they only guide us to understand the purpose behind the each ritual and then use it as a means to the end of self-realization. If you do not use that as a means, like a pole vaulting, pole vaulting, The pole vaulting game, there is a pole vaulter who is using the pole. The pole vaulter using the pole, he has to cross the bar which is very high level. So he uses the pole, he runs with the pole and pegs the pole on the ground and lifts himself up and up and up till the horizontal bar. At that moment he leaves the bar, he leaves the pole and crosses the bar other side, and he becomes the pole vaulter successful. If he holds on to the pole before, if he crossing the bar, he will knock up the bar and the bar will be dislodged, horizontal bar. Therefore, he has to use the pole to that extent where he can be lifted to the highest point till the bar level. At that point, he has to roll over other side and drop the pole. If not, he will knock off. Similarly, friends, we got to be rituals. We should follow these rituals and practices of all sorts of available. Scripture also recommends, but with an idea that what is the meaning and message and purpose behind this ritual is to reach the enlightenment and reach the knowledge of the self. By gaining the knowledge of the self, you remove this ignorance of the self, which is the cause of your present desires and ego and egocentric selfish behavior, which is the cause for mental agitations and suffering. That is the theorem has been highlighting in this entire topic of this section, section 2. So we will study the mantra 10 now, chanting. Ishtapurtam manyamana varishtham Nanyashreyo vedayante pramudhaha Nakasya prishthete sukruteno bhutve Imam lokam hinataram vavishanti. Mantra 10, again repeat the chanting. Isthapurtam manyamana varishtham Nanyachreyo vedayante pramudhaha Nakasya prishthete sukruteno bhutve Imam lokam hinataram vavishanti. Mantra 10, translation. Colossal fools. The verse starts with pramudaha. Mudaha means fools. Pramudaha means supreme fools, colossal fools, ultimate fools, superlative. Believing sacrificial rites and charitable deeds to be supreme. The very, very deadly statements he making. Colossal fools believing sacrificial rites and charitable deeds to be supreme. They dub them to be supreme. Do not know what is better, what is higher, what is superior than this charitable deeds and ritualistic rites, sacrificial rites. They, having enjoyed in the heights of heaven through good deeds, no doubt they are performing good deeds, they are enjoying the heights of super sensuous joys in the heavens, enter this world or an inferior one also. It's very, very threatening, as it were. The same idea continued. Colossal fools, not ordinary fools, those who are steeped in ignorance and caught up in ritualistic practices and proclaim, rituals are the ultimate. I dig wells to the poor, that is the ultimate practice. I directly reach God. This is what foolish people talk about. I feed the poor, I serve the poor, build houses to the needy people, charitable works. People are thinking that their ultimate are considered as colossal fools with reference to the enlightenment is concerned. It is very, very, very sacrilegious and blasphemous if you do not understand the underlying purpose of human birth, underlying theorem, what the guru is meant here. No doubt, the service is helping the people is a great charitable work. You are helping the people, helping the humanity, helping the world. Unselfish work is definitely great, but not at the cost of recognizing your ultimate purpose of human origin. Why are you here? What is the ultimate purpose of your existence? What is the meaning and purpose of your existence here? That is not known, that is not understood, that is not learned, that is not practiced, that is not known. That is what his guru in Upanishadic terms condemning. First, you should discover who you are. Your identity is lost and you are caught up in these charitable deeds. For what purpose? Where are you heading towards by doing all these charitable deeds? Caught up in sacrificial rites, where are you reaching? That is the question. And people who do not understand this, he refers to them as colossal fools, believing sacrificial rites and charitable deeds as the supreme ultimate activities in the world. There is nothing beyond. They consider like that, are called colossal fools. So very interesting. They do not know what is better than, what is higher than this. They have enjoyed the good deeds in the heights of heaven by the merits of their good deeds, punya, enter the world of, back to the world or inferior one, means they may go to the deeper suffering and sorrow of this world. Is very, very emphasizing by guru. Mudaha means fools. So today the entire human beings are believing that those who are selfish people, who are caught up in personal desires, accumulating, enjoying, acquiring, enjoying, acquiring, enjoying, they don't think anything higher than their ego and egocentric desire satisfaction. That is whole lot, vast majority. Second, the minority of the people who are understood that they should be responsible for the what they received from the birth, and they're caught up in the sacrificial rites of serving the animals, serving the plants, serving the people, serving the world. They are good lot doing very great charitable deeds and works in the world. No doubt they are very, very important in human evolution. But if they consider these charitable deeds, this great humanitarian work for welfare of the people around themselves, and they dub them as the ultimate practices, there is nothing better than them, such people are called colossal fools, told by the Upanishads. That is why Upanishad is very tough to understand for a common man, because it is not available, not accessible to common man. He is talking about the highest truths of human beings, which is there is nothing beyond. What is the highest? Discovery of your reality, who you are. Find out what is your real identity is the mission of human existence. Is they are emphasizing that point only, nothing short of it. So mudaha means fools, pramudaha means colossal fools. The one who deem sacrificial rite and charitable deed as the highest spiritual practice, they are fools. Their feeble intellect, because of lack of intellectual strength, intellect is not grown to conceive something higher, something nobler, something highest. The who am I? That question itself is not able to accommodate. Who am I? Am I this personality? Is this permanent? What is that permanent factor in us? That is not at all given any importance. Such people are considered as highest fools because of feeble intellect. Their feeble intellect cannot conceive anything higher. Istaha are the sacrificial rites enjoined by the sacred texts. No doubt they are performing conjoined following the sacred texts. Shruti, classified as yajnas and yagas. They are very, very great practices. They are caught up, which are yajnas and yagas, whereas portaha are the charitable deeds contained in the old manuals, smrutis. In smrutis are yajnas and yagas, and smrutis are the charitable deeds and old manuals, such as building temples, churches, mosques, pilgrim centers, and sinking the digging wells and feeding poor. All other charitable deeds human beings are engaged are no doubt noble activities, but far away from the discovery of the supreme God within. That is the condemnation of the gurus in this mantra highlighting. So, Mudaha means fools, Pramodaha means supreme fools, means colossal fools, those who ones who deem and consider these sacrificial rites and charitable deeds as supreme spiritual practices. There is nothing higher than that. These, because of their feeble intellects, their weak intellect, their low intellect, alpa buddhis, they are not able to conceive the supreme God, the Atman, the discovery of the self. They can't conceive. They can't hardly understand, and they don't pursue at all. They don't fix the goal of human existence is to reach the immortality by reaching the fourth plane of consciousness. God consciousness is the ultimate goal of human existence. That is unknown. They are just caught up in ritualistic practices and charitable deeds, and that is the be all and end all of human life. Is such people are deemed as colossal fools by the guru. And these are all, what are they? Yajnas and yagas, selfless activities, sacrificial activities with the desires, punya, and purtaha, charitable deeds. You see, people give charity to various, along with the charity they want their name and their identity. So and so person given so and so. They want to give only with promoting their individuality, promoting their ego, promoting their name and fame. They don't want to do anything selflessly because of their desire-ridden activity in the charitable work also. Such people do not come under the spiritual seekers, enlightenment seekers. They are also worldly people. Consider them as colossal fools by the mantra. Yajnas and yagas, such as pilgrim centers they construct, building temples, churches and mosques, people doing noble, unselfish work, digging wells, feeding poor, giving clothes, all these things. So these people will not be able to reach any further except good heavenly pleasures because of good deeds, but they are not going to get freedom from the suffering and sorrows of this mundane world of birth and death. They don't reach the immortality. We will continue this mantra 10 further in the next class. Thank you very much. Hari Om.